Poverty, hunger, disease, and the consequences of natural disasters are as big a threat to security as armed violence or political persecution. The narrow understanding of human security, on the other hand, focuses on violent threats to individuals such as armed conflict or human rights violations and their consequences in terms of political violence, arbitrary treatment, the use of landmines, sexual violence, internal displacement, and human trafficking. In short, human security is about removing the use of the threat of force and violence from people's daily lives. This is what freedom for fear is all about. However, the two approaches are mutually reinforcing and stipulate that there is no security and well-being without freedom for fear and freedom from want for each and everyone. In its foreign policy, ladies and gentlemen, Switzerland takes both understandings of human security into account. The Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, for instance, promotes human security primarily through its efforts in poverty alleviation, health, and good governance programs. The Foreign Ministry's Directorate for Political Affairs, in turn, contributes to human security in its other sense through conflict transformation and the promotion of human rights. It focuses specifically on issues such as anti-personnel mines, small arms and light weapons, child soldiers, engagement with armed non-state actors, forced displacement, human trafficking, as well as gender-related issues. The various consequences of economic crisis, climate change, conflicts, and bad governance on the lives of people around the world show us today that the response to contemporary threats to human security cannot be limited to foreign policy. It has to include not only development and peace policy, but also international security policy. Moreover, the transnational nature of the threats and challenges in question cannot be addressed by one state alone. They clearly call for collective action. All relevant actors, ranging from the United Nations and other international and regional organizations to national governments, civil society organizations, and the private sector, bear responsibility for ensuring that we do more than just crisis management and start moving towards a sustainable policy. In Switzerland's vision, human security is intrinsically linked to a stable and peaceful environment. This concept, in our view, this concept of peace includes much more than political stability and the absence of violence in the short term, even though these elements are of great importance. Rather, peace should also be secured in the long term through sustainable development, social justice, respect for human rights, and democracy. And the Swiss people hold these values dear and have enshrined them in the federal constitution. Allow me to give you a few examples of the Swiss engagement in improving human security. Firstly, in 2008, on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, an agenda for human rights was designed with the support of Switzerland. One of its recommendations is a call for a global fund for national human rights protection systems, which would help improve governance and a better functioning of the judiciary. This, in turn, can play a significant role in diffusing tensions and thereby contribute to the prevention of armed violence and conflict. This agenda for human rights also emphasizes the notion of shared responsibilities by various actors. For example, the responsibility for human rights violations may not always lie with the state, but can include non-state actors as well. To achieve effective protection, the shared responsibilities of different stakeholders, including international organizations, intergovernmental bodies, and non-state actors, including private enterprise, must be further clarified at the international level. Finally, the Agenda for Human Rights calls for a World Court of Human Rights, which could play an important role in making actors more accountable, thus advancing this effort to fight impunity. Secondly, Switzerland supported, in collaboration with the UN and the financial industry, an initiative entitled Who Cares Wins. It aimed at supporting the financial industry's efforts to integrate environmental, social, and governance issues into mainstream investment, decision-making, and ownership practices. Its final report stressed the importance of combining market incentives with standards set by regulation and the protection of human rights. This reflects not only the need for shared responsibilities by various actors, but also the interrelatedness of human rights, environmental concerns, and the economy. The efforts of Switzerland in this field are still ongoing, with the current support of the initiative Sustainable Commodity Trading, in partnership with the UN and international finance corporations. This initiative aims at defining norms for the commodity market that takes social and economic rights into account. Thirdly, human rights and the rule of law are a key component of Swiss support for peace progress abroad. Africa is a region particularly affected by long-term crises and resurgent conflicts that are often caused or aggravated by the various consequences of the economic crisis, climate change, and poor governance. Switzerland's aim to contribute to conflict transformation, the support of local peace networks, and the promotion of exchanges of experiences among key stakeholders. Moreover, the Swiss government facilitates regional capacity building seminars on mediation, conflict management, and transitional justice. As mentioned before, one of the conditions for human security on which this forum will focus is the healing of memories arising from painful past experiences. For Switzerland, this topic is very important as we believe that a systematic approach to dealing with the past can help societies work their way back to normality after conflict. The better a society is able to come to terms with its past, the more likely it is to achieve a lasting peace. Dealing with the past involves a wide range of measures: fact-finding justice, institutional reforms, reconciliation, and the strengthening of human rights. And Switzerland supports a number of programs concerned with dealing with the past, notably in Colombia, the Balkans, Nepal, and Burundi. In Bosnia, due to the joint efforts of the UN and Switzerland, a governmental working group has recently been set up to prepare a strategy for transnational justice. Switzerland has also contributed to the development of this topic in Africa by co-organizing 2 conferences of transitional justice in Cameroon. Switzerland also played an important role of facilitation between Turkey and Armenia that led to the signature in October 2009 of these 2 protocols aiming at normalizing the bilateral and diplomatic relations between the 2 countries. And last, Switzerland is strongly committed to advancing this topic within the international community. It has proposed a resolution on the subject of justice during transition processes that has recently been adopted by the Human Rights Council in Geneva. My 4th and last example will focus on conflict prevention, which has become an important topic of the past few years. The sad events in Rwanda and in the Balkans and the rising cost of peacekeeping operations have sharpened the international focus on effort in conflict prevention. And with the events of September 2001, the concept of prevention has gained even more support. Fragile states have been identified as being more vulnerable to the development of security threats, such as terrorism or organized crime, and the challenge today lies in what could and should be done to make conflict prevention an operational concept with adequate and effective tools. Switzerland supports this idea. However, we have to be aware that some states still show distrust for this concept, as they fear that it is only a kind of fig leaf for interventionism and breaches of their sovereignty. Nonetheless, we think in Bern that we should promote this concept of prevention in international forums, and we should integrate this dimension in our efforts in general. Quite clearly, preventing conflict and human rights abuses saves lives and is much less resource intensive than lengthy conflict management and reconstruction. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time to conclude, and I will say that there is still a lot to be done in order to improve this concept of human security worldwide. And the tasks ahead are quite daunting. But it is my hope that thanks to the wealth of expertise and experiences gathered here today and through innovative methods, the CAUX Forum will allow us to identify creative solutions and effective ways to advance human security. I wish you a very interesting exchange of view and an excellent afternoon. Thank you for your attention. Somehow.